What's up, y'all? It's Treasur Necole, your favorite Scorpio, and you are now tuned in to another episode of Inside the Chest Podcast. Now, that song you just heard, guys, is the official theme song for Inside the Chest. And I read you guys' comments up under the video that you can find on 290 Mo Podcast when you subscribe and follow. And you guys have been telling me, how can I get this full record? How can I stream the song? And lucky for you, you can stream it on all available platforms, the Inside the Chest theme song. So I'm super excited about that. And I can't wait to get into it once again. This is episode 2, y'all. So we back for a second date is what I like to call it. Because y'all know last week was our first date. We were getting to know each other. You were trying to figure out who I was, and I'm trying to figure out who you are just by your engagement. And chestmates, I can already say by the first episode, you have made me feel so welcome. And even though I'm not new to this, y'all make me feel definitely true to this. So I appreciate everybody that's listening and watching, and let's get into it. So last week when y'all were here, we were talking about starting over and being back at one, and I know in a lot of areas of my life, especially in this time, I've had to start over. I know I explained to you guys when you last saw me on camera, outside of my music and my modeling and the acting, you guys, last time you saw me really doing something similar to this, I was on another platform. And there were so many questions about why I left the platform and or who made me leave the platform. And if you all haven't seen that episode, please feel free to go back and watch. But for those of y'all who did, you guys know that in that time, what I was just explaining was it's okay to start over, right? I know so many times we have fears of starting over because we've done so much in the past, but me sitting here right now is just trying to encourage myself and encourage y'all too that it's okay to step out of your comfort zone and do you. It's funny, I was watching this Kevin Hart thing on Netflix, and he was saying how we have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And even though I don't look it, even though I'm making it look good, you guys, I am so nervous, but I am so excited to be here. This is our second date. And y'all know how it is. Y'all know how after the first date, you get to texting the person, you start asking those questions like your favorite color, your favorite movie, because now you're interested. You're interested in that person, and you're interested in what they can bring out of you. And I know just this being episode 2 and reading you guys' engagement on what we've already talked about, I can definitely say that I'm excited to be on this second date with you, and I just want to get into it. So the title of this episode, guys, is called Deep. Now, for the R&B heads, you already know that's coming from back in the day, Blackstreet classic record Deep. And we know, like, when they were referring to the word deep, it was about sex, right? And we're going to get into that too, because I told y'all it's going to get spicy, it's going to get steamy, it's going to get all that. I don't want us to rush into it, because I do want this to feel like a relationship. I want us to really build with each other in a way that you would build with somebody that you just met and you building a friendship with, right? And so definitely when I talk about the word deep, we're going to definitely get into that intimacy, that physical intimacy, but I really want to talk to you guys emotionally too. I want to get into the mind, and most importantly, get inside the chest. You guessed it, right? So just starting off with on an emotional tip, I remember saying that we gonna laugh on this podcast because I'm just naturally just like I don't know. I feel like I'm slight awkward, but I guess I'm cool. I'm cool, but we definitely gonna get deep and really talk about what's inside our hearts. So I'm stuttering and all that, and please keep this, editor, keep this, because it's hard for us to be vulnerable, right? When somebody asks us, oh, what's your deepest fear, or who's the greatest love of your life and all that stuff, we begin to stumble over our words and we begin to like stutter and stuff, right? Because we're not used to being vulnerable. I feel like vulnerability is looked down upon, right? I think it's more, I think we're kind of opening up to it more, because on another show I was watching, I heard that 2024 was the year of truth, right? And I don't think you can tell the truth without being vulnerable. So I know that with honesty comes a certain amount of openness. And I can start off by saying, guys, as I'm taping this, and I'm going to take my glasses off because I definitely want y'all to see my face. But as I'm taping this, I am going through an emotional roller coaster, just like maybe a lot of my watchers and my listeners are. And just so you can know a little bit more about me, I think in the last episode I told you guys a little bit about my history, just my background history, just along with my parents and just me growing up as a child. But I want to get deeper into that too. I know my dad was just he was sorry. He was diagnosed. I want to say this was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, with dementia. And for those of you who don't know what dementia is, it's a severe it's a severe memory loss. And it's a side effect of, strokes and things like that. And you guys got to Google some of this stuff because I can't turn to the medical dictionary here. But it's a brain deficiency. And I consider my dad to be one of the smartest men I've ever met in my life. And to watch that transition, it's been hard, right? Obviously, because I can't even talk about it. But that's why we're here, y'all. We got to get inside the heart. We got to get inside the chest, right? So as watching him go through this phase in his life currently, it makes me, one thing that I'm learning is that the things that we remember, even the things that, for somebody to be able to go back and say, man, I remember when I was 7 and I did this, or I remember when I was 13 and I did this. We take that simple thing for granted, right? Because I'm in a position where my dad doesn't even remember, if he ate. He doesn't remember, my nephew, somebody that he has such a close relationship with. I just came from seeing my dad, so that's maybe why I'm so out of it, guys. But my nephew came with me to see my dad for the first time since he's declined in his health in this way. And he actually thought my nephew was my brother. Now, my brother and my nephew, they look totally alike. They're like clones. But he couldn't separate the two. And watching that and reminding him like, hey, no, that's Omari. You remember Omari, which is my nephew's name, who I love so much. Baby, I love you. Just having to remind him of these things, it just shows me that we take our experiences and the things that we remember and the things that we feel almost for granted. So when I say that we going deep, I want us to just unfold all those layers. And I want the camera to keep rolling. I don't even know if my mascara is running or not, but y'all be nice to me in them comments, okay? But it's so funny because my mom and my dad, they separated when I was very, very young. They were actually separated for 11 years. And they in that time, you know, they kind of were trying to figure out whether they want to be together, what they wanted to do. But at a young age, that made me kind of see how strong love really is, right? Because you could think that you can be physically separated from a person, but if you are still emotionally tied to them, it's almost like you all are still together, right? I know it's been certain times in my life for sure where I may have not been with the person, but because my heart was so invested in our situation, I couldn't entertain anybody else, or I couldn't, even though we know that we can, even though we know that, especially being in front of the camera and doing this music shit, like you run into all kind of people and all kind of people have a desire for you, and you can take that for granted and be like, shit, fuck it, I'm gonna go ahead and do what I'm doing. But the way I'm operated and the way that my emotions work, when I'm emotionally tied to someone, I usually can't do shit with nobody else or nothing else. But I say that to say my father called me the other day, and he was like, you know I love your mother, right? Now, mind you, I'm 30 years old, y'all. My parents separated when I was a child. When I was, 9, 8? I don't even remember. But even with his brain condition, he was able to remember that love that he had for her. And that just showed me that no matter what we're going through in the physical, that emotion, those emotions, they stick. They stick like fucking grits, man. They fucking stick. And so that was so powerful for me I had to kind of remind my dad, like, I don't know if he remembers that maybe him and my mom aren't still together, right? And it's a surreal situation, guys, but I'm sitting here and I'm trying to be as vulnerable and honest that I can with you, because I know that that's the only way that this show is going to work, and that's what this show is about.
What's up, y'all? This is the ending of the video shoot of dropping. We had the best cash you could ever dream of. And it was great. Shout out to FD Photo Studio. Shout out to Black Tie. Shout out to Richie Banks. We in the building. Shout out to Mad Flow. And everybody that was a part of this situation, man. We appreciate it. We love you.
This was us. Can I drop it?
My sister, the look, we bout to run a check. When we hit the scene, you know it's like a flag. Baby, make it something that I can't forget. Promise I will put you on the internet. My eyes on the door, let's take the exit, babe. Your body and mine saying two different things. Drop it, cause you know that's what I came for.
Stick a mug at the drop.
So now that the tears have dried and all that emotion is out the way, I had to get that off. Let's talk about what Blackstreet was talking about, right? They was talking about sex, right? And ain't none of us got here without two people joining together in that action, right? And so, but it's such like a touchy subject, right? Everybody want to tiptoe around it, but it's something that essentially we all have in common. We all will experience it. We all have experienced it. And it's definitely what keeps life going. But I want to know, chessmates, because I always want to involve y'all in what we're doing. I want to know, when it comes to sex, how serious do you guys take it? Like, I've talked to some people and they've said to me that, oh, sex ain't nothing. It's just, I use it as a distraction, or I use it as a coping mechanism, or things like that. And I think to myself, I'm crazy, first of all. But I think to myself, and I be like, well, that sex must not be popping then, because I know when it comes to myself, I know that I can't even use sex as like a thing where I'm just doing it, right? Because it's so emotional for me. It's so it's such a deep thing for me, right? That if if I am entertaining that activity with you, then shit, we go together. You feel me? Like we own something. We doing something. Now I'm not perfect. There have been times where, I've taken that action as a way of an emotional escape, right? But at the end of the day, that's the key word. It was still an emotional thing. Maybe I was thinking about somebody else, or maybe I was trying to get over something else. But usually whoever that I'm having that activity with, right, I'm damn near in love with them, right? That's me, y'all. Y'all know I'm a Scorpio, so that's me, right? But I want to know what y'all, like, is there really like levels to this shit? So y'all get in the comments and tell me, like, and men and women too, because, even when we talk about men, we say men can sleep with 100 women, right? Men can sleep with 100 women and be good, but let a woman sleep with one man, two men, or whatever your vibe is, right? We on the flow, right? We on the flow. And that's just because we're natural. And I'm speaking about women because I can't speak on a man's point of view, right? We are natural emotional beings. And so when I hear a woman, this is just me personally, when I hear a woman say that she uses sex for, like, it ain't that serious, or it's just an exercise or whatever. I done heard some shit, y'all. So when I hear that, I automatically know that there's an emotional block, right? I automatically know that there's something that, even though you're saying that, oh, sex ain't nothing, that's because at one point, now this is just my opinion, this is not fact. That's probably just because at one point it was something, right? And you're protecting yourself, but you still want to take part of that human nature, right? So chessmates, talk to me in the comments. Is it levels to this shit? Because I want to know the levels. I want y'all to tell me, because I think it just goes into the difference between having sex and making love, right? Like, and I know for a fact there's a difference with that. Honestly though, as I'm talking to you, when I think of I can think of 3 levels right now, and this is just something that I came up with. Level 1, you could be just fucking, right? Just doing whatever, just doing how you feel, doing whatever. Level 2, you could be having casual sex with somebody, right? Somebody that you feeling, somebody that you trust, and somebody that kind of they locked in with you, right? They ain't got nothing, and you good or whatever. So, and then that level 3 is that making love, right? That's that marriage sex, right? That's that long-term relationship activity, right? And I feel like every time I go into it is level 3, right? But for you, for the audience, y'all tell me what it's like for you. And don't worry, I can handle it. I done read the Zane books now. I done seen the what's the movies? I done seen the rated R movies, right? So y'all could definitely let me know what it is, because I'm curious, right? Because everybody at the end of the day doesn't go deep when it comes to sex, right? Even though they may be emotional beings. We all emotional beings, right? It takes a certain amount of emotion to even look at somebody and say, oh yeah, I want to have sex with you. So it all just ties together. And then when you think about the mental, right? When I think about being mentally deep, I know I'm mentally deep. Even the cameraman, guys, I don't know if y'all know Mo, but me and Mo, we talk, 2-3 times a week about the podcast. And I'm always sending him like these deep paragraphs, like, oh, I appreciate you. Oh, I thank you for giving me this platform, and da-da-da-da. And I'll be like, I know this nigga think I'm crazy as hell. Like, but I'm just that kind of person. And I want to know how emotional y'all are. I want to know how deep y'all get. Because I'm an R&B singer, so I think my deep is different from everybody else's deep. And I also write poetry too, and we'll talk about that. I actually started writing poetry before I started singing. I've always considered the pen my sword, right? And even though like I told you guys on episode 1, when I'm not on the camera, I am quiet. I do talk a lot if I fuck with you, if I trust you. You know, I'm like I go in, right? But ultimately speaking, I'm a pretty, silent person. And I think I'm that way because my wheels are always turning. And when I do speak, I want it to mean something, kind of like now. I want this to mean something for you guys. For you guys to even see me cry. I haven't allowed my father to see me cry because I want to be strong for him. I usually don't, if I'm into it with my partner or I'm not speaking with my partner, I may be crying while I'm texting them because I'm so frustrated, or I might be crying because I just want something to be different. But I ain't gonna tell you. And if I do tell you, that's because I want you to know, like, you're affecting me right now. You're affecting me right now. Don't make me pull up. You feel me? But no, it's never like that. But I definitely wanted y'all to know what's going on. And listen, you guys, when we come back, we're gonna talk more spiritually about what that means. And once again, I definitely want you all to engage with me. Let me know how you feel. Let me know what you're going through, because I want to know. And I want to be able to help you through it like you're helping me through it, because I haven't talked about this with anyone. This is my first time sitting down. And if I cry during this whole episode, I'm literally going to slap myself after this, okay? Because I'm supposed to be gangster. I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to be tight. But when we come back, guys, we're going to talk more about the spiritual breakdown of everything. And I just appreciate you all for getting inside the chest.
Yeah. Yeah, money make the motion, got hood make the money. And bitch, I'm from the trenches, I'm trying to see 100. Ain't never been a bitch, you can't take nothing from me. And when I was a youngin', I swear I stayed on dummy. I'm on a mission, got me cooking in the kitchen. Bitch, I leave my pots dirty, let my hype scrape the dishes. I'm familiar with that dope, and I know that rutabaga. You ain't get no money if you don't keep a group of haters.
Yo, what's up, y'all? It's Treasur Necole, your favorite Scorpio, and we are back. We are back with the continuation of episode 2. Now, that was a lot, y'all. That was a lot, but we got through it, right? And that commercial you guys just saw is where all of this is being housed. It's the 290 Mo podcast. Commercial shout out to Mo for giving me this opportunity and being able to speak to you all. When I talk about the first date, 290 Mo is like the restaurant we at. It's like the 5-star restaurant we at. It's where we whining and dining each other, right? So, once again, we're going to go deep, right? Now, we talked about the emotional and the mental and the sexual, right? But y'all know we got to get down into that spiritual. And that just goes back to when we were talking about sex, right? Just like the soul tie dynamic. Now, I want to know from you guys, because I talked about sex and I said some people look at it as not that serious, right? And it's levels to the shit. But I want to know, do you only create a soul tie when you make love? Or is a soul tie originated simply off of someone else entering your body, or someone else, or you being intertwined with someone in that way? I'm always curious about that. And I'm seriously curious about that but I'm wondering with you guys, I want to know, like, when it comes to soul ties, do you feel like that's based off of your seriousness with the person? Or is that just based off the activity alone? I can almost say that a soul tie is almost like taking a part of that person and it being a part of you. I always used to say, when you lay down with somebody, when you get up, you don't get to pick what part of their personality you take with you. Because a soul tie is literally you taking part of them. But we don't get to pick, right? So that's why sometimes girls and men too, be ball shit crazy getting up from a situation. Or sometimes you just be like, oh yeah, that was cool. All right, moving on. because we take away characteristics of that person, and we don't get to pick if they're the good ones or the bad ones. You know, I look at the people around me that do have kids, and I look at their offsprings, and I can look at, well, I can only look at the people that I know, but I can look at someone and be like, oh yeah, they took that part from their mom, or they took their part from that. I can even look at myself, and I can tell you what parts I took from my mother and what parts I took from my father. So I think soul ties not only come from the people that are having the sex, but it also comes from if another being is created, it's all up and through there. You know, it's all those two people are literally creating one person, and that's when it goes deep, right? That's when it gets super deep. Just going back to my father as well. But one thing I've never saw my dad do until he got sick was cry. I've never, ever seen him cry until he became ill. And you know, it was something that I always questioned as a kid. I'm like, man, like, I always used to think that him not crying made him a mean person, or it made him an unemotional person. But everybody deals with their things differently. Everybody's deep is different, you know, in front of you all. But going back to the soul ties, I just feel like when we talk about getting deep, that's a really strong part of it. Who we're tying our soul to, who we're choosing to entertain, and even when we talk about spirituality, not in maybe a religion aspect, but really in an aspect of, because there's so many layers. I'll talk to someone and they'll say, oh, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. And all of a sudden that makes them like deep, right? Because they're not really conforming to Christianity, Buddhism, Jewish, or things like that, but they are in tune with themselves on another level, on another frequency. And I do consider myself a super spiritual person. I know that for a fact. But religion is also a very big part of my life, considering how I was brought up. And it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but I do recommend, when it comes to getting to know yourself and getting to know who you are for real, you have to first find out what it is that you believe in, and what it is that you stand for, and what it is that you won't accept and that you will accept, and who you can run to, which is another R&B song, and it might be an episode title, Who Can I Run To, right? And that's an Escape classic. It might be I'm damn sure gonna make that an episode title. I want you guys to engage with me and talk to me about your experiences as far as how deep you get spiritually. Do you get into the astrology, the numerology? Do you simply open a Bible? Do you pray in the mornings? What is it that you do to keep your mind right? I want to know, because if I get 100 comments that say, hey, I pray, or hey, I do this or I do that, you never know. We might just do it on the show, right? Because ain't no rules in this house. Ain't no rules. We get deep, and we want all kinds of audiences to be involved in what we're doing. So just going back to myself personally, when I talk about being a deep human being, I think that all really started for me when I started writing poetry. You guys can't see it, but as the weather gets better, my sleeves will get shorter. I have a tattoo here of a pen, and it says "Author of My Destiny" in cursive, right? And when I got that tattoo, I think that's when I really realized that we are literally writing our own stories, and they're not going to be perfect. Nobody's story has that fairy tale happy ending. And the people that you look up to, the people that I look up to, They've had some of the most craziest plot twists in their lives possible. And I personally don't think that you can become great without having certain obstacles, without being forced to become deep in a way, whether it's emotional or spiritual. Like, hey, yo, I got to find a place where I can really go deep and be myself and be vulnerable. Otherwise, you're a robot, right? And you kind of on autopilot, or you a damn AI character, right? So I think as long as we are in this human experience, we have to get deep, right? So audience, chessmates, I want to know your opinion on intimacy, and how do you decide who you are intimate with? How do you decide who you tell your secrets to? How do you decide at that date when you do tell them a personal story about your family, or you do tell them about your past, when it comes to your partners or even the things you've been through? So you guys let me know. And when we come back, we're gonna wrap it up like Christmas, y'all. And we're gonna get deep one more time. One more time, because we in the 8 feet right now. We started off in the 3 feet, then we was in the 5 feet, we in the 8 feet, but I want to jump off the diving board when we come back. And I definitely want us to get our hair wet, and just let loose on who we are, because no matter, when you turn this off, you're gonna go be something to somebody. But while you're here, I want you to be yourself. Okay? So we'll be right back after this. You guys, I want you all to email me your questions as you watch the show, as you listen to what we're talking about, at insidethechesspodcast@gmail.com, or DM me on my Instagram at insidethechesspodcast. I love to hear from you. And listen, I read every comment, I read every email, and I'm gonna shout you out too, because this is not just a show for me, it's a show for us as a community. So let's go inside the chest. Yo, what's up, y'all? So I'm wondering, do I have to say my name and my zodiac every time we come back, right? I'm gonna think more on that. Maybe on episode 3, I'll just say it in the beginning, and then, y'all can figure it out as you go along. But as you know, it's Treasur Necole, your favorite Scorpio, and we are back. Let me tell you guys, the commercials that you watch in between these segments are just as important as the show. So when you see the commercials and you see what it is that we're promoting, if you say that you love the podcast, then part of showing that is taking engagement into the commercials too, subscribing and watching the videos and the channels and things like that. So I'm thanking you in advance for doing it, because I know that you've already done it, but I don't want to go home and say, man, I should have said that, right? So I appreciate y'all. So chessmates, I've read the comments. I have seen what you guys were saying, and it just shows me that we all think so differently, right? When it comes to just like one word things. Remember, guys, this episode was called Deep. And I'm sure when we heard that, before we clicked on it, we didn't know what to expect, right? But because of that, I wanted to make sure that we talked about everything when it comes to the depth of things, because I don't know if y'all ever heard this, but I know I haven't, but if I did, I would want to fix that right away. If somebody was to say that you're shallow, meaning that you're not deep, meaning that I know your ground just by putting my toe in, right? I can't even check the temperature right, like for real, and so I don't ever want to hear those words, right? I don't ever want to hear that I'm shallow, and I haven't so far, so we're doing good. But if you all have ever felt like maybe up until now you haven't opened up in the way that you wanted to, and maybe you kind of almost self-sabotage certain things because you didn't open up, because you didn't show who you were, they may have picked someone else. And when I say picked, I don't even mean in the bounds of relationship wise. I mean in everything, in our careers and stuff too. Sometimes when we go into our careers, especially if we're doing something else outside of our career, we put on this facade, right? Or we put on a certain kind of mask, right? And we call it just being professional. But sometimes we play that role so much that it ends up becoming a part of us, you know. And I can definitely say, even though I'm an artist and music is my life, it's gonna be what I end up dying doing. It's what I'm going 6 feet deep with. See what I just did there? But I know when I have had to go into a 9-to-5, or I have had to go into maybe a place that I was using to provide for my career that I really wanted, you know, you kind of put on kind of like this, not necessarily a facade because it's still you, but it's a version of yourself that maybe you don't use quite as often, right? And I'm always scared to get deep, like really deep with people that I don't know. But here I am sitting in front of you and just really showing you my heart. And I know how much that's making me grow right in front of you, right? And so I hope that when you're watching and when you're listening, you're doing the same. Behind me, I just want to show love because I always want to let the people know who are supporting me that I appreciate them, right? So behind me is the Inside the Chest cover art. Is for, you guys will see it on the Instagrams. You guys will see it on the backgrounds here. And shout out to God Henry Design for drawing my vision just the way that, just beyond what I envision. And you guys can follow him at God Henry Design. Shout out to the platform, as I always say, the platform 290 Mo Podcast. Shout out to you guys for opening up your chest and trusting me enough with your story, you know, with your opinions, with your outlook, without being judged, right? Because we all want a place where we can be ourselves. And if you can't be yourself nowhere else, you can be yourself here. So, y'all already know we got deep as hell this week. We got deep as hell. Next week gonna be funny. I'm going to try to be funny for y'all. I'm going to try, okay? Don't know how it's going to go, but we're going to lighten it up a little bit next week. So I want you guys to definitely come in next week, because next week I might should I get him the title? Should I give you the title of next week's episode? Come back next week. You'll have the title then, okay? And y'all already know, I'm Treasur Necole, your favorite Scorpio. And I want you guys to follow us on all platforms at Inside the Chest Podcast. That is on Facebook. That's on Instagram. On TikTok. And I'm just excited for what's to come. So let's fix this mess, y'all. Inside the Chest.